So everyone, imbalance is a tough concept, but if you learn it nicely, you will start realizing that before you understood imbalances, your decisions in middle games were without any sense. And once you understand imbalances nicely, it's a process. You will start noticing the points where you used to make bad decisions, but suddenly you will not make those bad decisions in the middle game. The first example is based on the imbalance of minor pieces. Right now, if you look at the bishop, it is a good bishop because the center pawn is of the opposite color. So this bishop is having a lot of coverage, and this bishop is far too better than the knight because the knight has the jumping squares and we are covering all of the jumping squares. Okay, so maybe the knight can go here and then it can try to come back in the game. But even if it tries to come back in the game, it does not have too much future. It will have to read out something like this. So knight will be taking too many squares to move. And right now we are the one controlling all the squares on the dark color. We are gaining the domination. We are right now having a bishop dominating the knight. If you also look about the space advantage, white is having the space advantage. White is having these pawns blocking the entire queen side. So you can even plan to play something like rook b1, rook b7, bring the other guy in, try to do that way. Or you can try to just go directly, bishop c3, queen d4, think of going for checkmates. And this is very, very easy to play. Once you realize that you're having a domination of minor piece, you're having a better minor piece than opponents. So you can play something like rook b1, rook b7, bring the other guy in, and you can try to hit this guy. a7 is weak. Or if you want to just go for direct way to play something like queen d4 in the next chance, you'll be finding that, okay, both the moves are equally playable. This is the first kind of imbalance, and you have to compare, So basically, minor pieces in knights as minor piece likes to find jumping squares. Like this is a jumping square. This is a jumping square. But because of our own pawns, all the jumping squares are taken care of. Bishops like open diagonals, as we all know. The second kind of imbalance is imbalance in pawn structure. So we'll go to the second position. Again, it's similar. We are having a minor piece versus minor piece. And we are again having the space advantage. This time the knight is dominating the bishop because the bishop cannot get out of anywhere. If the bishop was on c5 or b6, then it would have been something different. But because the bishop is stuck behind its own pawns, the bishop is a bad piece. Again, this time we cannot go queen d4 and here because it's kind of taken care of. So we can just play the idea of rook to b1, rook goes to b7, bring the other guy, and the c7 pawn will be always getting lost. And we will go rook b1. And again, you are having all your pieces in a very active manner. So this is again a winning position from white, even though materially everything is equal. It's just about who is having more space. And if you look at the pawn structure, you will realize that because of the center dark square pawn for black, which is d6, the bishop is not able to get mobility. If the bishop was on b6, then we would see something else like being played. Then the game would have maybe gone. And if there was a light square bishop, then black would be very happy to exchange light square bishop. Like suppose if I just remove the minor pieces, imagine in your mind if there are no minor pieces. So one thing that right now white has more space. So white don't want to exchange equal value pieces. But when you are having less space, that is what I said in the last class, that when you are having less space, you want less and less number of pieces to be there on the board. Because just imagine in your mind, if for some reason I do magic and I just remove these minor pieces, suddenly the rook has a space to move, which is on e7. And then they are having control of the open file. This is still dominating from white. I'm not saying that, but at least black will be able to play something. So when you're having less space, try to exchange more. When you're having more space, avoid exchange of pieces. Just try to improve your position slowly, slowly. The third example is space. So again, I mean, even you can learn space from this particular position, but let's go to the third position. I guess this position is better example for space. Let's go for this position. Now, this position you're having a passed pawn, and the queening square is controlled by the bishop. So again, it's very dominating here. And we can realize that, okay, their passed pawn is on the d file, which is again kind of the open file, but you are having the initiative. Your pawn is faster than the opponent's pawn, so you can start playing something like this and go forward, exchange pieces, and you will be having a better game. So these are just examples. You don't have to, you will have to play these positions against level 6 and 7. But right now, just try to understand the basic idea. How do you deal? Now, if you compare the minor pieces in these cases, right now, both the minor pieces are good because there's no center pawn, so bishop is very active. Right now, this bishop, it looks like, okay, this bishop is not so good, but it's a temporary bad piece. The moment pawn moves up, the bishop becomes a good piece. So right now, it's not more about minor pieces. It's also not more about space. It's also not more about material, because right now black is +1. Rather, it's about initiative. Who is able to deal with the pawn race first? So this is the position telling the information. Okay, so you have to start with pawn b7, and then you will react how the game goes on. Fourth position, again, this position is actually about pawn structure. So if it is white to play, you have to first of all understand what is going on. If you look at the minor pieces, this bishop is a good piece because the center pawn from white is not there. So that gives this bishop a lot of space. This bishop is also kind of a good bishop, but white pawns are blocking it. But rather, sometimes just by definition, we find what are good bishops and bad bishops. But in practice, sometimes a good bishop is a bad piece and a bad bishop is a good piece. So right now, if you can see that, what is the definition of a good bishop? Good bishop is a bishop in which center pawns are of opposite color. So here, this is a center pawn. No center pawn is there still, but that makes this guy a good bishop. But the problem is my pawns are blocking the way. So even this bishop being good, theoretically, in practice, it's a bad. This side is a good piece because it likes to be on the jumping square, so it can come to d4, b4, whatnot. Then the next imbalance is pawn structure. Now, if you look at the pawn structure, now you'll see something different happening on. So here, e6 is a backward pawn. Isolated one on a semi-open file, always weak. So what you have to do, you have to just try to increase the pressure. Now, guys, how can we increase the pressure? Anyone can help me out here?
Knight g5, sir.
Knight g5, knight e8.
Then bishop h3.
Bishop h3. And what if after knight g5, what if I push it? So you have to understand that first of all, pin it to win it. You do the other way so that they cannot push it. So here the bishop is a bad bishop because the center pawns are of the same color. This bishop being a good piece. This bishop is a bad, good bishop as compared to the d3 one because it has a lot of open diagonals. Same, if you can apply the logic, you'll find out that this bishop is a bad bishop and this bishop is a good bishop. Okay? Even though it cannot move anywhere, theoretically, we say this bishop is a good piece. Okay. One thing should be very much clear, that here, when you're having this kind of pawn structure, there are two ways to break. See, every pawn structure tells you a story. If you look at the white pawn structure, they are directed both the ways. It's a direction of this way, the queen side, and it's a direction on the king side as well. So what happens is, when you're having these two directions, you can think of breaking the structure by playing g5. That is also a correct plan. Or you can also think of breaking the structure by playing c5. This is also a decent plan because the pawn structures are telling you that you can go both ways. So here, some correct ideas can be preparing for c5, preparing for g5. If you want to prepare for g5, you can play rook to g1, rook to h1. These kind of moves are considered to be good moves. Okay. So something like just go rook h1 or rook g1, and then you can prepare for g5. Or if you want to play c5, you will need some calculation. But c5 is also a good break because the pawn structure is telling that we can go both the ways. Okay. By the way, I want all of you to understand these positions nicely because you will have to solve these positions, each one of them against level 6. So you will these positions are all winning positions, and you'll have to play all these positions by yourself before the next Saturday's class. Try to understand the ideas nicely. I hope everyone is able to understand till now.
Sir, what's the advantage here in this position?
Yeah. I'm just coming to that.
Looks like files, racks, and diagonals. Or holes. Or not holes.
Okay, we have Gurfate also. Hello, Gurfate.
So is this about? I have two guesses about what this advantage could be. My first guess is it about files, racks, and diagonals? And the second guess is it anything to do with holes?
No. So here, this kind of this is again a positional imbalance, and this imbalance is about material. So here we are having a way to b plus 1, direct way to b plus 1. And yeah, that's about it. You can think that they can play c6, try to trap you, but then you are having queen c4 and you win c6. Bishop takes. And you're having +1. And what do you do in +1? First of all, it's not just a +1 advantage, by the way, guys. It's not just about being +1. It's about destroying the structure as well. Right now, center is closed. So you are planning to push pawns and break the center or break the side. So when the center is closed, you have to push pawns. But when the center is open, you don't have to push pawns anymore because you're now trying to be active with your pieces. You don't play pawn moves like h4, a4. You don't play like this. You play with your pieces. Like, how can I activate my pieces in a fast manner? You know, that's what you have to try to plan for. Again, we can see that, okay, this is a perfect file for white. And if for some reason, if I'm able to play the bishop on the c6 square, then I'm gaining the domination on the e file. Even right now, the e file is fine. You can start by something like queen a6 and try to win material. They will also try to attack you on this side because your bishop is slightly misplaced. It should be here. But again, the game will go on. It's like a long game to be played. The game will go on. Okay. Now, look at the structure again, guys. First of all, this bishop right now is a good bishop or bad bishop, all of you?
Good bishop.
Good bishop. If you play this bishop is a good bishop or bad bishop?
Bad bishop.
Bad bishop. So when we are playing chess, we cannot play these kind of moves. In the game of chess, these kind of moves are crime. Okay? If you do this, the police comes and take you in jail. So you cannot play chess like this. Looks like, oh my goodness, this pawn is now backward and I have fixed the weakness, right? But then you are committing a crime here. You can be punished for this kind of moves. This is a very, very
so
bad
what about
move.
bishop h3?
Bishop h3 is decent.
What if bishop c5, c6?
That is the best because domination. Remember, in the previous example, I gave you this idea of playing bishop on c6. You dominate the position and you claim the file. This is called as claiming the file. All right. Are you able to understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And then you can play something like queen f3 and try to improvise. I mean, not right now, just don't blunder the pawn. But here, they don't have many moves here. They don't have moves with the rook. They don't have move with this rook. They don't have a move with the bishop. The queen can dance wherever she wants, but you will realize that you're having, again, something like this is coming. p7 is coming. So you'll be having a lot of fun to play this position. All right. That's how you understand advantages. I have given such kind of positions to many players who are not aware of imbalances, and many times I have received the answers like pawn d5. Let's try to fix the weakness on c7. But if you look carefully, you don't have a single piece that can attack c7. So even if you fix c7, what's the point of it? You cannot attack it, right? So the idea is to play bishop c6, not make your bishop bad. You have to just be aggressive, bishop c6, and now you're claiming the e file. And now suddenly all the black pieces are stuck. Next example. Okay. Look at this position, all of you. In the chat, tell me an idea from white. Apply what you have learned till now. I'll give you 4 minutes to think. But I want everyone to answer me personally. And I want everyone to answer me, because you cannot just skip these parts, because this is a part of a game that you have to understand. If you don't understand, see, anyone can teach you openings or endgame. Endgame is also not something that you can learn from YouTube or something. Okay, all right. Now I'll be starting the discussion. See, what did I say? That first of all, understand imbalances. Don't see, there are two kinds of players, or maybe there's a transition of a player that always happens in chess, especially from when a player becomes from intermediate to advanced or maybe higher level. The transition is when players are playing intermediate chess, they're more like emotional players. Like, they believe on their instincts. They make the moves because they feel that, okay, I feel that this move is right, let's make it. The other kind of players are the players who don't make decisions by emotions. Rather, they make imbalances. I mean, they make their decisions by understanding imbalances and trying to make the moves not because they feel it's good, because they know why it's good. Right now, you guys are emotional players. You're relying more on emotions. What I'm trying to change is I want you guys to make moves, not because you will feel that it's right, but because you will understand why it's right. Many of you have got the right answer, by the way. So here, first of all, learn imbalances. Very important thing. Minor piece imbalance. It's a bishop versus knight. Now, this bishop is very bad because it's stuck inside the own camp. And remember, when you're having a knight, you want to... Let me explain. When you're having a knight, you want to jump. Knight likes to jump. So you have to prove that, first of all, this knight is sleeping in your camp. You have to prove that you're dominating the board with the bishop versus knight. Then it's about structure of pawns and space. Right now, white has space. So remember what I said when you're having space. When you're having space, you don't want to exchange pieces. You want to improve pieces. Remember, don't forget about these small statements. When you're having space, you don't want to open the space. You want to, first of all, maneuver pieces to the right squares and then open up the game, because you know that now it is the right time because I'm having each of my piece participating in the game. That's what I said. When you're having space, you can take some time to maneuver your pieces. First of all, playing a5 or g5 is not good, because you are helping your opponent to gain some maneuvers. You are helping your opponent to gain some pieces. Your knight is not participating in the game. This rook is doing nothing right. So correct idea here is knight d3 or knight e2, then knight f4, then knight e6. And it cannot be stopped. Once you have a knight on e6 or d5, I like e6 more for obvious reasons. Once you're dominating it, take again time. No need to rush things. Rook g2, rook g. Now you know that, okay, it is the right time. Let's strike.
Sir, I said both the plans in one answer.
Yeah. So don't play the moves because you feel it's a good way to attack, like a5 or g5. First of all, understand imbalances. Take time. In space, you can take a lot of time and then strike by g5. You'll always find that some differences have happened in your quality of moves. Other examples? Yeah, this is again a very nice way to play. It is black to play, guys. And take your time. The threat from black is to play knight to g6 and want to win the game. So here it is a case of initiative. Initiatives are very important in chess. And it is white's idea of playing knight g6, but it is your chance. How can we play and not try to allow knight g6 happen? So you have to do something. If you don't do anything, then knight g6 is just going to come. You have to do something to stop knight g6. How do I do something? So you have to attack something. Only then knight g6 will not be played because they'll react to your moves, right? If you attack, the opponent reacts. If you don't attack, you will react. Okay? Because now you guys are able to understand imbalances. You'll be learning imbalances for, I guess, maybe a couple of many sessions. I was reading about imbalances right after I taught you guys on Saturday. And before the Saturday class, I decided that I will teach you 30 imbalances. But then I realized that 30 imbalances is very less. So then I decided that at least I will show you 120 positions of imbalances so that you guys can understand, the general pattern of how do you find imbalances. So this is one of the positions black is trying to play. So Arav, I wanted to ask you, can you tell me about the minor piece, good bishop, bad bishop here? What do you think?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the black bishop of white is a good bishop.
And okay, other is bad. Okay, what about black?
So the black white bishop is a good bishop.
Good. All right. Now here, knight g6 is a threat. My question is, how do you create counter threat on the opponent? This is my real question.
Okay. I thought queen f7 not only does it prevent knight g6, it also does a possible threat of bishop c4 skewer.
Very good. And also, if the knight moves,
and
remember,
bishop can't take the bishop also.
If the knight moves, you're winning a2 pawn.
Yeah.
Very good. Queen f7 is the way. You stop g6, you attack knight. You don't allow them to play knight f5 also because you will take and create a skewer. So they have to, okay, if the knight moves, then you just destroy the entire structure of opponent.
So first take the knight and then.
Yeah, take, and you don't have to take the pawn. You can just create a skewer, beautiful skewer here. And you can win the game very easily. So if you are able to find this, so they have to play this. Then it's again kind of simple. Take, queen c4, take, everything is very forcing. Take, and look at this beautiful pawn.
Oh my god, that is so disadvantage.
And now you will realize that this bishop is a permanent bad piece, but knight wants to still jump. So you play knight e7 to control these squares. You don't want to play c5 right away because you don't want to allow this move. So you play knight e7. Whatever they play to make this guy best piece, you can go here. You'll realize that, okay, whatever they play, you can play b6 and this knight can never be challenged. There's no piece that can challenge this knight.
Ultimate position.
And that's how you create positions which is winning for you. How many of you are able to understand this?